The silent arrival, hook and suspense. The galaxy had known peace for centuries. Alien civilizations, each with its own culture and history, coexisted in harmony. The Council of the Stars, an alliance of the most powerful races, ensured that no single empire could disrupt the balance. The humans, a species that had once been seen as primitive, had become a growing presence in the galaxy. But even with their advancements, no one considered them a real threat. Then the silence was broken. The first sign came as a strange signal, faint and distant at the edge of known space. It wasn't the kind of signal that could be ignored. It was too precise, too intentional. The signal was not a distress call or an invitation. It was a warning, but one with no source. The Galactic Council called for an immediate investigation. Their best scout ships, equipped with the finest detection technology, were dispatched to uncover the mystery. For days, nothing came back. The scouts reported no sightings, no evidence of anything out of the ordinary. But the signal kept coming, faint but steady like a heartbeat in the cold void of space. The galaxy's most advanced sensors were unable to find the origin. It was as though the signal was coming from nowhere at all. The more the Council tried to trace it, the more it evaded them. Even their best engineers couldn't make sense of it. What kind of technology could hide itself so perfectly for weeks? They speculated, each race offering its own theories. Some thought it was a fluke, a natural anomaly. Others feared it was a new weapon, something they had never seen before. But then came the first real breakthrough. An alien scout ship sent to the farthest reaches of the galaxy finally caught a glimpse of something strange. It was just a flash, a brief fleeting image that seemed to appear and disappear in the blink of an eye. The scout ship's captain reported it, but his words barely made sense. A ship, he had said, but not like anything we've seen before. Silent, unseen. It was as if the ship itself was not there at all. The captain's report shook the Council to its core. A warship, hidden in plain sight, capable of evading even the most sophisticated detection systems. It sounded impossible, but the evidence was mounting. This wasn't just a strange signal anymore. It was the unmistakable sign of something powerful, something terrifying. The humans, so often dismissed as insignificant, had somehow developed a technology that defied everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare. The Council immediately ordered a fleet to be assembled. It was time to find out exactly what was out there. The fleet, a mixture of ships from different species, set off toward the unknown. They traveled in silence, their ships equipped with every sensor known to the galaxy. But even as they neared the location of the signal, they saw nothing. No warships, no signs of any kind of civilization. It was as if the space was empty, completely devoid of life. Days passed with no progress. The fleet was on high alert, but still no one saw anything. The humans' warship, if it existed, was still hiding. The tension in the fleet grew with each passing hour. No one spoke about it, but everyone was thinking the same thing. Could this be a trap? Was the fleet walking straight into an ambush? Then, without warning, a new signal was detected. This one much stronger, clearer, and unmistakably from a ship. It was like a dark cloud moving through the void, barely visible to the naked eye. The fleet's sensors screamed as they tried to track the source, but even their most powerful instruments were useless. The ship was still invisible, silent, as though it were part of the darkness itself. Panic began to spread among the fleet. The leaders of the Council, once so confident in their control over the galaxy, now found themselves questioning everything. How had the humans achieved this kind of stealth technology? Was this ship part of a new weapon? Was humanity truly capable of such power? Suddenly a report came, and one of the ships had made visual contact. Barely. It was only for an instant, but it was enough to confirm what the fleet had feared. A massive human warship, shaped unlike any other vessel in the galaxy, had appeared out of nowhere. It was dark, sleek, and terrifying. The warship was silent, its energy systems barely registering on the scanners. It was as if it had been made to blend into the void itself. The commander of the fleet made the call. All ships hold position. Do not engage. We must learn what we are facing. But even As the fleet hesitated, the warship moved. It was faster than any ship in the fleet, and just as quickly as it had appeared, it vanished again into the depths of space. In that instant, the Council knew one thing for sure: they were facing something unlike anything they had ever seen before, something that would change the fate of the galaxy. The silent arrival of the human warship had begun a new chapter in the galaxy's history. The panic had set in, and no one knew where the humans would strike next, or if they would strike at all. A desperate investigation. The Council's emergency meeting was called immediately after the silent warship disappeared again. The once peaceful and united alien forces were now rattled by the sighting. The unthinkable had happened. A human warship capable of evading the most sophisticated sensors and detection systems in the galaxy had entered their space without a trace. No one knew how or why, but one thing was certain: the humans were no longer the underdogs. They had evolved into a powerful threat. The first question on everyone's mind was simple: how did they do it? In the Council's Grand Hall, the leading alien engineers and scientists were summoned from all corners of the galaxy. Each race, known for its own technological brilliance, brought their knowledge to the table. Together, they had created and maintained the peace in the galaxy for centuries. But now, they were on the back foot. The humans, it seemed, had developed a technology far beyond anything they had anticipated. The warship was a mystery, a black box that no one could crack. "There's no way this technology exists," said Admiral Kalks, a tall and powerful figure of the reptoid race. His voice echoed with disbelief. "If the humans have managed to create this kind of stealth, they must have done so in secret. For how long, and why reveal it now?" But no one had answers. Every alien engineer and scientist in the room was stumped. The human warship appeared and disappeared without warning, each time remaining undetected by every known sensor. It was as if the ship existed in a state of pure invisibility, hidden from sight and sound, as though it was a ghost. "We need to know how they did it," insisted Celia, a small, quick-thinking member of the Jovian race. Her species was famous for their intelligence and the relentless pursuit of answers. "If we don't learn this technology's secrets, we could all be in danger. They may not be attacking now, but what if they decide to?" The Council was split. Some belly. The humanity had developed the stealth technology as a form of defense, perhaps in response to some unknown threat. Others, however, feared that the humans were preparing for an invasion. No one knew for sure. In the days that followed, the Council sent more ships, better equipped with the latest sensors and detection technology. They scored the same area of space where the human warship had been seen, but it was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Time after time, the ships found nothing: no warships, no signs of any alien presence. The only thing they could be sure of was that the human stealth technology worked flawlessly. The fear was growing. Panic was starting to spread not only among the Council but throughout the entire galaxy. Ships from various star systems were on high alert. The peace that had existed for centuries was now on the brink of collapse. No one knew what the humans intended, but the sight of their invisible warship had made the galaxy realize just how powerful they had become. Then came a breakthrough of sorts. A ship from the Xantar race, equipped with an experimental sensor designed to detect anomalies in space, reported something unusual. It wasn't a ship, it wasn't even a vessel. It was an energy signature, faint, hidden within the normal radiation of deep space. The Xantar crew suspected that they had found the human warship's exact location, but they couldn't be sure. The energy was too weak, too erratic to pinpoint precisely. It was only the slightest disturbance in the universe's fabric, like a ripple in a pond, too small to notice unless you were looking closely. The news spread quickly across the galaxy. For the first time, AF had been discovered, though it was far from certain. The Council ordered a fleet to converge on the location, hoping that they could finally uncover the source of the mysterious human warship. The fleet's commanders knew that this would be their final chance. If they failed to find the ship now, they would be forced to acknowledge the human warship's power and the potential for an attack. The fear of humanity's unknown intentions was now too great to ignore. As the fleet closed in on the coordinates, the air was thick with tension. Every officer, every crew member knew that they were stepping into dangerous territory. Their sensors buzzed with activity, searching for anything that could give away the warship's position. but still the area remained silent. The humans had outsmarted them. Once again, it wasn't until a sharp-eyed scout noticed something strange, a faint outline barely visible against the backdrop of stars. The ship was there, but it was still hidden, almost impossible to see. The scout's heart raced as he locked his eyes on the black silhouette just barely visible there. It was the human warship. It was real. The scout immediately sent the report back to the fleet's commander. "We found it. The ship is here, but it's still cloaked. We need to proceed carefully." The fleet's commander hesitated. The last time they had seen the ship, it had vanished before they could react. What if it was another trick? What if they were walking into another trap? But they couldn't turn back now. They had to know what they were dealing with, and they had to act before the humans decided to strike. It was clear now the silence of space was no longer safe. The fear that had been building since the first signal had erupted into full-blown panic. The mystery of the human warship had become a threat to the very fabric of galactic peace, and with that the investigation into the human warship had officially begun. But no one knew whether the truth they were about to uncover would bring them closer to peace or bring the galaxy to war. Secrets of the ship. The Galactic Council was in turmoil. Every moment that passed without answers brought more anxiety. The human warship had been spotted, but it had slipped away just as quickly. It had been more than a week since the last sighting, and the tension in the galaxy was growing to an unbearable level. More ships, more sensors, more teams were sent to track the mysterious warship, but all were met with the same result: nothing. Every alien species in the council was now desperate. Their greatest minds, the ones responsible for their race's most advanced technologies, had failed to make any headway. The warship, a massive vessel that could move undetected through their territory, was a force they could not comprehend. The fear was no longer just about the ship itself. It was about what it represented, the unknown. But amid the growing panic, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A small group of human engineers known for their brilliance in the field of stealth technologies had secretly infiltrated the aliens' information networks. These humans were not military leaders or spies. They were scientists, researchers, and innovators. But what they had discovered was something extraordinary. The humans had perfected the art of bending light and sound, effectively cloaking their ships from even the most advanced detection systems. It wasn't simply invisibility in the traditional sense. No, the human technology was far more sophisticated. By manipulating the very fabric of space itself, they had created a stealth technology that altered how light and sound waves interacted with the ship. It wasn't a mere cloak or cover. It was a distortion, a bending of the space around the ship, making it appear as though nothing was there at all. The discovery sent shockwaves through the council, the Zant, who had long been considered the leaders in energy manipulation, were the first to examine the new data. They ran simulations, tested theories, and compared this new technology to their own work. What they found both astonished and terrified them. The humans had achieved something even they had never thought possible. "This isn't just technology," said the Xanter lead engineer, his voice thick with disbelief. This is an entirely new understanding of physics. We're looking at a technology that goes beyond anything we've encountered. It's as if the humans have cracked the code of how the universe itself works." The council's leading scientists began working around the clock to understand the principles behind the human warship's technology. They examined every bit of information they could find, and every fleeting glimpse of the warship's energy signature. It was a race against time. The galaxy had to know how the humans were doing it, and if they could replicate it. But even as the alien scientists made progress, they couldn't shake the question that was now on everyone's mind: what would the humans do with this power? Could it be that the humans had created this technology in preparation for an invasion? Was the warship part of a much larger plan to dominate the galaxy? If that was the case, then the stakes were even higher than anyone had realized. The council made a bold decision. They would send a small team of diplomats to Earth to meet with the humans face to face and demand answers. The stakes were too high to leave things to speculation. The fear of war was too great. But even as the diplomats prepared for their journey, another shocking revelation came to light. The human Warship stealth technology, it turned out, wasn't the only advanced piece of equipment they had developed. They had also perfected a new form of energy weapon, one that could disable entire fleets in seconds. The technology had been kept under wraps, but it was clear now that humanity had been preparing for something, perhaps even a threat from outside the galaxy. The Council, now fully aware of the human technological leap, found themselves in an impossible position. How could they approach this? On one hand, the humans were offering no threat. They hadn't fired a shot. On the other, the warship's very presence was an undeniable statement of power. The galactic peace was at stake, and the fear that the humans might be preparing for something far worse than large over the Council's deliberations. As the diplomats prepared to leave, one question weighed heavily on everyone's mind. Would the humans agree to share their secrets? Or was this the beginning of a new uncertain era, one where humanity stood at the top of the galactic hierarchy? No one knew what would happen next. The only thing everyone agreed on was that the galaxy would never be the same again. The silence that had once been comforting now felt suffocating. The human warship and the technology behind it was a game changer. But what was the humans' ultimate goal? The Council was about to find out, but only if they could survive the encounter. Panic among the stars. The discovery of humanity's stealth technology shook the galaxy to its core. What had once seemed like a mystery was now a reality, and the implications were terrifying. The human warship, an invisible, undetectable force, was not just a ship but a symbol of a much larger shift in the balance of power. The peace that had been maintained for centuries was now teetering on the edge of collapse. The news spread quickly across the galaxy. Panic began to spread like wildfire. Ship commanders, once confident in their advanced technologies, now questioned everything. If the humans had developed the ability to hide an entire warship from the most advanced detection systems in the galaxy, what else were they hiding? What other weapons had they developed? The fear was palpable. Fleet commanders across the galaxy ordered their ships to be put on high alert. Communications between different star systems became tense, with each race unsure of who could be trusted. Some even began to question the Council itself. Was the peace they had fought so hard to maintain now an illusion? And if the humans were this powerful, were they preparing for war? Could it be that humanity's rapid technological advancement was a prelude to an invasion? The human warship was an enigma. Every time it appeared, it vanished just as quickly. No one had seen it in full, and that only fueled the fear. What kind of weapon could disappear into thin air and strike without warning? The mere idea of facing a fleet of such ships was enough to send chills down the spine of even the most battle-hardened alien officers. Then came the first real sign of aggression. A fleet of Xantar warships, sent to investigate a distant sector, went silent. No distress signal, no sign of struggle, just nothing. The fleet had vanished without a trace, and no one could figure out what had happened. The Xantar fleet was one of the most powerful in the galaxy, capable of taking on even the most formidable enemies, and yet it had disappeared without a fight. The Council's response was swift but desperate. More ships were sent to investigate, but when they arrived at the last known location of the missing fleet, they found nothing. No wage, no signs of battle. It was as if the fleet had never been there at all. The only clue that remained was a faint energy signature, a ripple in space that had been left behind. It was similar to the one they had detected before, when they had first found the human warship. The panic that had already been building now reached a fever pitch. The Council feared that the humans had not only developed the stealth technology, but had also mastered the art of disabling entire fleets. The news of the vanished Xantar fleet sent shockwaves across the galaxy. If the humans were behind the attack, if they had somehow found a way to disable entire fleets without firing a single shot, then they were no longer just a threat to be contained. They were a force to be reckoned with, and they had the power to change the course of history. In the quiet corridors of the Galactic Council's command center, the leaders of the various species met in secret. A plan was formed, though it was one born out of fear rather than strategy. They knew they had to act quickly, but they didn't know how. If the humans had developed weapons capable of disabling fleets, they couldn't risk waiting for another attack. But what would be their next move? And could they trust the information they had gathered? The council decided to send a small fleet to confront the human warship to demand answers and show the humans that they were not to be underestimated. It was a risky decision, one that could spark open conflict, but it was clear that something had to be done. The council's leaders feared that if they waited too long, the humans might launch a full-scale invasion, and it would be too late to stop them. The fleet, composed of ships from several races, set up to find the human warship once again. They knew that this time they couldn't afford to make any mistakes. They had to find the ship, expose its weaknesses, and force the humans to reveal their true intentions. But as they approached the area where the human warship had been spotted, something strange happened. Their sensors picked up an energy signature, a familiar one. The human warship was close, but it was moving. And it wasn't just moving in any direction. It was moving toward the fleet. The council ships held their position, preparing for what was to come. The moment they had feared was drawing near. Would the humans attack? Or was this some kind of message? The fleet commanders didn't know, but they couldn't afford to wait any longer. They had to be ready for anything. And then, just as quickly as the warship had appeared, it disappeared. The fleet sensors scrambled to find it, but it was gone, vanished into the void. Once again, the galaxy was left in suspense, with no answers and more questions than ever before. The panic among the stars had reached a breaking point. The fear that had been building over the past weeks now seemed like a storm that could not be contained. The humans had revealed their hand, but no one knew what their next move would be. All the galaxy could do was wait and hope. They weren't about to find out the hard way. The first strike, the fear that had gripped the galaxy for weeks, was about to turn into reality. The council had ordered the fleet to confront the human warship, but even as they set their course, they knew they were walking into the unknown. Every ship was on high alert, every officer's nerves stretched hot. The mystery of the human warship had escalated into an undeniable crisis, and now it seemed as though a test of wills was inevitable. The fleet, composed of several different alien races, advanced toward the coordinates where the human warship had last been detected. The ships moved cautiously, their sensors working overtime, scanning for anything out of place. No one spoke much. Every ship was prepared for an engagement, but no one knew what to expect. Would the human warship show itself? And if it did, would it simply disappear again? Or would it finally reveal its deadly power? Then, without warning, the first strike came. It was as if the warship had been waiting for them. The human vessel emerged from the depths of space, like a phantom moving silently, yet with incredible speed. The alien fleet had no time to react. The ship fired once, just one shot, but it was enough to send shockwaves through the fleet. The blast hit a Xantar warship directly, and in an instant the ship's systems were disabled, power drained, weapon systems went dark, and communications went dead. The Xantar ship was floating helplessly in space, its once imposing form now a sitting duck. The attack was so swift, so precise, that the council ships were left in a stunned silence. No one had fired back. There was no chance to. The human warship was simply too fast, and its weaponry too powerful. It was a single shot, but it was enough to send a message. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The council fleet scrambled to respond, but the human warship vanished as quickly as it had appeared, once again slipping into the shadows. The fleet's commanders tried to regain control of the situation, but the damage had been done. The alien ships that were still functional moved into defensive positions, but even they knew it was futile. They couldn't track the warship. They couldn't see it, couldn't hear it, couldn't even guess where it would strike next. The feeling of helplessness spread throughout the fleet. The human warship had shown them something they had never expected, a weapon so advanced that it could disable a fleet in seconds without the need for a prolonged battle. It was not just a warship, it was a demonstration of human power. The council ships, equipped with the most advanced detection systems in the galaxy, were useless against it. The question now is clear: what would the humans do next? As the fleet's commanders attempted to make sense of what had just happened, chilling thought crept into their minds. Had the humans only shown a fraction of their power? What if this warship was just the beginning, a small part of a much larger, more dangerous force? The fear began to grow again. The council's fleets, once seen as invincible, had been humiliated in just moments. The human warship was not just a weapon, it was a symbol of something much larger. Humanity had made its presence known, and it had made sure everyone understood that they were no longer the underdogs they had advanced beyond anything the galaxy had expected, and now the balance of power had shifted in the aftermath of the first strike. The Council held an emergency meeting. Representatives from every alien race gathered to discuss their next steps. The moon was grim. No one knew if the humans would strike again, or if they would continue to hide in the shadows. But one thing was clear. The galaxy would never be the same again. There was no longer any question about humanity's capabilities, their stealth technology, their energy weapons, and their ability to disable entire fleets in a single had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with. The Council knew they had to act, but what could they do? How could they confront an enemy that seemed to have no weaknesses, no limitations? As the meeting continued, the fear of the unknown continued to haunt everyone. The question on everyone's mind was simple yet terrifying. Was this just the beginning of humanity's rise, or was it a warning to the galaxy that they had better prepare for something much worse? The first strike had sent shockwaves through the galaxy, and the Council now found themselves facing the ultimate dilemma. Should they confront humanity, or should they try to negotiate peace with the species whose true power was still shrouded in mystery? The tension was palpable. The fate of the galaxy now hung in the balance. The truth revealed: the galaxy was in a state of utter disarray. The attack on this ant fleet by the human warship had sent ripples of fear through the Council, and beyond, the power that humanity had displayed was undeniable. But what was most terrifying was the complete unknown that hung over it. What exactly were the humans capable of? Was the warship's stealth technology the tip of the iceberg, or had they been hiding even more dangerous secrets? In the wake of the first strike, the Council, filled with dread and confusion, convened. Once more, representatives from each race were on edge, no longer confident in the fragile peace they had built over centuries. The fear of an impending war was palpable, but amid the chaos, one thing became clear: they had to find answers. They couldn't afford to make assumptions about humanity's true intentions, not with so much at stake. And so the Council decided to send a diplomatic envoy, an emergency peace mission, to confront the humans directly, and to learn once and for all what they were planning. The hope was that diplomacy would work, but the fear was that it might be too late. The envoy, consisting of respected diplomats and military commanders from across the galaxy, set course for Earth. As they journeyed through space, they couldn't shake the growing sense of tension that permeated the air. What would they find when they arrived? What would the humans say? The questions weighed heavily on them. When they finally arrived at Earth's space sector, they found something unexpected. The human warship, a black shadow against the stars, was waiting for them. It had not hidden itself this time. The ship loomed large, its dark form intimidating. There was no sign of hostility, but the message was clear: humanity was in control. They had shown their power, and now they were ready to speak. The diplomatic envoy made contact, sending a message requesting a meeting with the human leaders. What followed was a tense wait, as everyone aboard the Council's ships wondered if the humans would respond, or if they had something more dangerous in mind. It wasn't long before a human representative, a military commander, appeared on the communication screens. His face was calm, unreadable. "We are ready to discuss terms," he said. "Simply come to Earth." There was no threat in his voice, but his presence was commanding. The boys knew that they had no choice but to comply. They made the journey to Earth, and upon arrival they were met by a delegation of human leaders, including military and scientific experts. The humans were not hostile, but their confidence was unsettling. The meeting took place in a stark modern chamber on Earth's surface, with the remains of the Xantar fleet visible in the distance. Ships now reduced to debris. It was a chilling reminder of the warship's power. Humanity's leader, a calm and composed figure, addressed the envoy. "We did not want to keep our advancements hidden," he began, "but we had to prepare for the possibility of a galactic threat. The warship you saw was designed not to conquer, but to defend. We spent years developing technology to protect our home. You see, our galaxy is not the only one with intelligent life. We've had encounters with others, beings who are far more dangerous than in any civilization you've known." The Council leaders, stunned by this revelation, exchanged uncertain glances. The idea that humanity had been preparing for an outside threat was news to them. They had assumed that the warship was a tool for asserting power, but now they learned it was a shield. The technology we've developed, the human leader continued, is a result of necessity. We've seen what can happen when you leave your home unprotected. The warship was created aided as a deterrent, its stealth technology. The weapon systems, it's all part of ensuring our survival. The council members sat in stunned silence as the full scope of humanity's reasoning sank in. This wasn't a race hungry for domination. It was a species trying to protect itself. The warship was not an act of aggression, but a preparation for something even more dangerous. Humanity had been readying itself for an unseen enemy, and the warship was merely the first line of defense. The fear that had gripped the galaxy slowly began to shift. Humanity was not looking to conquer, rather they were preparing for a war they believed was coming, one that no one else could see. This realization was a turning point for the Council. Humanity, in its quiet resolve, had learned from the mistakes of the past, from the wars that had nearly torn their own world apart, and now they had decided to face what was coming. Coming together, the human leader voice was steady, unwavering. We will share our technology if the Council agrees to work with us. Together we can protect this galaxy from the threats that none of us have faced. We have learned that isolation is not a choice, it is a death sentence. We must unite. The Council's leaders were still processing everything, but one thing was now clear: the humans were not a threat. They were surviving just like the rest of them. The true enemy, something unknown lurking beyond the galaxy, was the real threat, and if they didn't work together, none of them would survive. For the first time since the warship had been spotted, there was a sense of hope. The fear had not disappeared, but it had evolved into something new: the possibility of an alliance, a unity that would transcend the past fears. Humanity's true intentions had been revealed, and with it the possibility of a new era for the galaxy, the new galactic order. The revelation that humanity's worship was not an instrument of conquest, but a tool of defense, began to transform the atmosphere of the galaxy. The fear that had paralyzed the council members now turned into a cautious optimism. It wasn't just the human worship that had shaken the galaxy, it was the realization that there were far more pressing dangers out there, ones that none of the council's members had fully understood until now. In the wake of the meeting with humanity's leaders, the council convened once more, but this time it was different. The once divided factions now found themselves on the same page. The idea of uniting against an unseen galaxy-wide threat had become more than just a theory, it had become the only viable path forward. Humanity, with its new technologies and their clear commitment to peace, offered their hand in cooperation. They shared the secrets of their stealth technology and energy weapons, and even more importantly, their understanding of the looming danger. It was a revelation none of the council had expected. Beyond the galaxy's borders, there were unknown species far more advanced and ruthless than any race in the council who had set their eyes on.